From an anatomical perspective, an eyeball consists of many different parts. But in 3D, we usually wrap it in 2 or 3 separate layers. The main layers are iris, sclera, and cornea. Iris is the ring-shaped area which defines the eye color. Sclera is the white outer layer of the eyeball. Cornea is the transparent front part of the eye that covers the iris and pupil. I usually combine the iris and the sclera in one single geometry and add another transparent top for the cornea, but some artists separate the iris and the sclera as well. So to begin, draw a sphere into the canvas. And then go to the edit mode by pressing the T key. Now you have to click on Make Polymesh 3D in the tool menu. Change the material to basic. After that, rotate the sphere 90 degrees around the x-axis so that the cap points towards the canvas. Now duplicate the current subtool. The second subtool will be used for the cornea. But we don't need it right now, so you can just hide it. Change the brush stroke to drag rag. With the right intensity, bow the surface in, so it gives you the basic form of the iris. Keep the size about the half of the eyeball's radius. Now we can cut the pupil out. While holding the Control key, change the stroke mode to lasso and select the first 2 rings. Change the display mode to double and exclude any other polys that you might have accidentally selected. Go to the Geometry menu and in the Modified Topology submenu, click on Delete Hidden to cut the polygons that we just masked out. Subdivide the mesh a few times so that you have enough topology to play with for the details. In the Transform menu, click on Activate Symmetry and also turn on the radial mode, then change the radial count to 12. You can see that the symmetry is around the wrong axis and we have to change the axis to Z. Pick the Dim Standard brush and in the Stroke menu, crank up the mouse average to the max and also increase the roll distance to 5. Start with drawing straight lines, then add more curves and details. For this step, use as many references as you can. Try different sizes and intensities for the brush, and also avoid drawing too many parallel lines. Our goal is to make it look as organic as possible. Now for the ciliary muscles, while holding the Control key, first draw the pattern as a mask. Start with drawing sharp edges and then use soft strokes to smooth the outer areas. Turn off the symmetry and add a few unique strokes and patterns to each side. After you're done with the pattern, go to the Masking menu and click on Inverse. You can use either the standard or the inflate brush to bump up the geometry. Use the highest intensity for the middle and go easier towards the edges. After you're happy with the result, you can clear the mask. Now it's time to finish and clean up the edge. You can see that after popping out the geometry, there are many jagged edges which need to be cleaned. The more time you spend on this forms, the cleaner the result will be. While having the radial symmetry on, use the standard brush to add a little bump to the outer edge of the iris. In order to paint with the standard brush, turn off Z-Add on the top toolbar and turn on RGB. Pick up any color and stroke once on the surface. Now ZBrush knows that you're in painting mode. Enter this RGB code for the Sclera and hit Fill Object in the Color menu. To start painting the iris, you can either copy my codes or enter the RGB codes that you wrote down from a reference photo. Be careful not to make a sharp line for the edge. If you look at some references, you can see that the edge between iris and sclera is rather soft and blurry. The color of the iris normally becomes a little bit darker towards the center and the edge. Now to add more details, I'm trying to add highlights using different brush sizes with brighter and more vivid colors. To paint the blood veins in vessels, I use high contrast lightning images as alphas for the brush. But, before that, first I add a blood gradient throughout the surface of the Sclera to have it as background color. Also adding some orange color variant in spray mode, helps to make it look more realistic. While still in spray mode, I choose a lightning image for the alpha to add vessels all over the surface in low intensity. You can also turn on Z-add as well as RGB to add a little bump to the surface while painting the vessels. I pick another lightning variation for the alpha to make the vessels look more diverse. Now I change the brush mode to drag rect to add more prominent vessels individually. You can see that the vessel looks a bit too sharp, so in Alpha menu, I increase the blur intensity to 10. If you remember, we duplicated a subtool for the cornea. Now the only thing we need to do here is add a bump to the center of the cap at the same size as the iris. Also in the size submenu, I increased the scale just a bit so that it covers the layer beneath. Finally, if you'd like to render the object in any other software, you can just export the maps using Multi-Map Exporter. Thank you for watching the video. If you have any questions, just let me know in the comments. Until next time.